Hey, what's going on? So in today's video, I'm gonna be talking about my taxes. It's tax season. I'm getting ready to do my taxes. So I'm set up in my kitchen here, taking over my island for the hour or two. And I'm gonna basically be separating everything and get everything ready to send over to my accountant. So I'm not gonna get into the nitty-gritty specifics of deductions and taxes and all that. You 100% need a quality CPA, which is Certified Public Accountant. An accountant, you need one. If you're running a business, you need an accountant. I wouldn't rely on like H&R Block or something like that to do your taxes. I've been working with my accountant for about 15 years. There's a bunch of them in the office. They're awesome, they're super knowledgeable. They've helped me over these 15 years, kind of through all the business changes that I've had. And the service is like, I can't even put into words how valuable it actually is to me in my business. Now my business is an LLC, so this might be completely different if you're like an S Corp or a corporation or whatever. I'm not exactly sure how that works. This is for my LLC. Now an important note, I'm in New York State, so this might be different if you're in other states. There are some states that don't have income tax. They just have property tax and things. I don't know how that works, but so you guys are gonna be completely different. So this is kind of for New York State, what I do. So let me just talk about what's in this pile right here, and I'll explain a little bit about what's going to be in this video. So what am I going to be doing here today? Basically, I've got a shoebox full of all of my receipts from the year that I keep in a drawer next to my desk. That way, if anytime throughout the year, I can just go in there and it's all in order based on the oldest stuff is at the bottom, newest stuff is at the top. So I can find something anytime throughout the year. If I was really good about this, I would just do this throughout the year and keep everything organized into file folders, but I don't. I've also got like all my 1099s and W-9s and whatever those things are, all the documents that I get from different places, from taxes and incomes and things like that throughout the year. I've also got a bunch of file folders. These are like jobs, bigger jobs that I did throughout the year that I keep a file on all year. And when I did construction, this was a huge stack. And now that I'm not doing construction, I don't really have a lot of specific job folders anymore, which I guess I should talk about too. So I used to do construction for 20 years. That was what I did. And during COVID, I kind of gave up construction and started doing junk hauling. I got a few dump trailers. I rent them out like dumpsters. I deliver landscape materials like gravel, mulch, compost, topsoil, all that kind of stuff. I do a little bit of equipment work, which I just bought a tractor. I'm really excited about that. So I can do more like brush hauling jobs and driveway repairs, gravel driveways. I've done some videos on that in the past. I was renting a tractor, but now I got my own. So that's more of what my business is centered around now, aside from construction, but I still consider myself like a contractor or independent contractor, you could say. So I'm a single member LLC with no employees, and yeah, so let's just get into this. Right off the bat, the first thing I've got is the list of the file folders. So I got a box here of 5-tab manila folders. This is what everything's gonna be going into. And then inside my tote here, I got a bunch of these dividers that the manila folders all fit in. Keeps everything super organized. Now, for the tabs of the folders, it's all my different deductions that I've got separated by category. Not that it really matters, but I do it in alphabetical order. It just makes it easier for me to find stuff. So I go back to look at like previous year's taxes to see things throughout the year. And it's just easy. It's in alphabetical order for me to find stuff all the time. So I'll put this down in the video description. If you want this for yourself, you can just copy and paste it into I did this on Google Docs. So just go to Google Docs, copy, paste, there you go. You can tweak this for your business, whatever your deductions are, but this is what mine are. Now I know a lot of people just show up to their accountant with a box of receipts, but don't do that. This is what this video is all about, is just separating everything out and getting it ready for the accountant so that they can do their work as quickly and efficiently as possible. So the first thing I'm gonna do here is separate all of these into these categories. So let's start with that. So I'm gonna keep this right here. This is in alphabetical order. That way I can just not really have to think about it and I can set stuff out. And as I'm going, I'll maybe shuffle some things around to keep it in alphabetical order. And yeah, hopefully it all fits on here. It can get a little tight, so I might have some stuff spread around the kitchen. All right, so that's everything all piled up there. Now I've got to put it all into folders and label everything. And I think that's it as far as this part goes. And then we'll get into some more stuff after that. All right, everything's in there. My guy actually just pulled in, perfect timing. I'm having my workers' comp audit right now, so I'm gonna pack this up and I'll come back to you. All right, I'm back. So now I'm just gonna kind of go through each folder a little bit and maybe separate some things a little bit. So I've got one folder that was income sheets and checkbooks, and I put all my invoices in there as well because I do use these contractor invoices that I get from like Staples, or you can get them on Amazon. So I'm gonna separate those and actually add a new folder called Invoices and put them all in there. I'm also taking off a category travel because I did 0 traveling this year. And I don't really do a lot of travel for business purposes, but when I do, I have in the past, so that's why that's been on there, but I don't really need that anymore, so I'm gonna take that off. And again, this is just my list for my things. You're gonna tweak this for your business and your stuff that you've got. It's not gonna be exactly the same as mine. Then within some of the things, like I have one folder that's just auto, and I'm gonna go through that and separate each auto. So like I've got my truck, that's all business purpose, but then I've got personal vehicle, I've got a motorcycle, stuff like that, that I'm gonna separate into non-business. It's all gonna stay in the same folder. I'm just gonna paper clip those together so that they're separated. And I'm not giving this to my accountant. Let me just be clear about that. This is just for my records to have. I'm gonna be just giving my QuickBooks, and like, I've got a bunch of stuff that shows that I paid like my taxes and things like that. And that is what I'm gonna be giving to my accountant. So I haven't got to that yet. But I'm not gonna bother with that right now. I'm just gonna figure out the stuff that I'm actually giving to my accountant. So I've been setting all that stuff aside, or stuff that I think I'm gonna be giving to him as I've been going along and figuring that out. I do have a pile of like miscellaneous other, which is my last folder. And that's just anything that I don't know what else to put it in. I put it over there. So I'm gonna get that squared away, and then we'll go from there. All right, so I've got everything ready to send over to my accountant. There's a bunch of papers here. Let me just run through this quickly. Again, this is New York State. I'm a sole member LLC, single member LLC. So this could be different if you're in another state or whatever, but this is just the information that I send over to my accountant to make sure they have everything. They've said before, I think they send it in their cover letter that they send to me. If you're in doubt, send it. They'd rather have too much information to deal with than not enough. But they don't need everything. They don't need that whole box of receipts that I started with. So this is everything that they will need to do what they got to do. So the first page right on top is just like a cover sheet, and it goes over a lot of the things that I had questions about or want to point out things in particular about. So there's a couple things that I just wasn't sure of that are on there that started off. Then there's a spot for my auto. I just say my start mileage, end mileage, and total business miles for my truck, because they need to figure that out for the deduction for the truck. And my accountant will take that and compare it with the actual costs for the year, and they will determine which is going to give me the most deduction. The next 2 pages is actually a print off of my QuickBooks profit and loss statement. So QuickBooks, I use QuickBooks Online. It's really convenient because all throughout the year, every time that any transaction goes through my bank account, it gets like, I have to tag it as something, and it gets logged into QuickBooks. So everything I do is all done digitally. All my bank accounts are linked to QuickBooks Online. So anytime any transaction happens, I have to like categorize it. So that's all on here, and it's all broken up by everything. And this is super handy because I can go in the profit and loss statement, and let's say there's one thing I want to look at in particular, I can just click on it, and it gives me all of the transactions for that based on the time frame that I put in, which in this case is for last year. So on here, I just have some little stars next to certain things, and that tells them that there's additional information in here that they need to look at for that. Now on the profit and loss statement, it just tells the different category and the total. So I have different types of income as well as different types of expenses, and they're all listed out on here. So this is the main thing that they go to for my deductions as well as my income. So for my income, I got a bunch of different categories: Amazon income, capital improvement income, consulting and project management, deliveries, discounts given, which is actually a negative. It's not an income, but they put it under income, dump trailer rental, equipment work, hauling income, junk removal, materials, and that's not materials that I'm purchasing. That's like if I put it on an invoice as a section of materials, and I'm getting income for the materials. That's not the outgo. That'll be under expenses. I'll get to that. Plowing income, QuickBooks payment sales, which is just sometimes when I get credit card payments, it puts them in kind of like this weird uncategorized thing, and I don't understand why that's there. That's one of these things that I am unsure about. Repair income, unapplied cash payment income, which is 0, uncategorized income, and YouTube income. Then under that, there's cost of goods sold, which is job supplies and disposal fees. Those are the only 2 categories I have under that. Then it gets into expenses. So I have my personal car, my truck, with fuel and repairs underneath each of them. Then there's advertising and marketing, bank charges and fees, charitable contributions, credit card fees, and that is credit card fees that my processor charges me when people use a credit card to pay me. Dues and subscriptions, insurance, and then there's subcategories: business insurance, health insurance, vehicle, equipment, workers' comp. Then I have interest paid, legal and professional services, meals and entertainment, office supplies and software, other business expenses, professional development, QuickBooks payment fees, repairs and maintenance, small tools, taxes and licenses, trailer registration, utilities, subcategory of utilities, cell phone, gas and electric, mortgage, spectrum, water, Windstream. Then website, podcast, online development, work clothing, and then there's a section of other income, which is interest earned, late fee income, sale of a fixed asset, and tips income. Getting down to the bottom here, there's other expenses, medical, repairs and maintenance, home office, which is like anything on the house, that all goes into that category, and then there's a percentage of that. And then I wrote in lastly, equipment purchases over $500 because it didn't put that in my profit and loss for some reason, even though that's a big chunk this year. All right, that was a rundown of the profit and loss statement. Now I'm going to go over everything else that's in this packet that I'm giving to my accountant. So these first couple are, these are just questions about some transactions that I didn't know how to categorize or whatever. So this is not pertaining to you. This next one is my truck. And again, this is the spreadsheet that QuickBooks Online gives me from my profit and loss statement. So this is all my fuel and more fuel right there. Spent $7,500 in fuel last year. And then below that is all my repairs. So, and I can like on QuickBooks Online, I could make subcategories underneath each category. So like this one category is my truck and it's got fuel and repairs, and I could have other things if there were other things to put on there. So for instance, for my utilities, there's the main categories, utility, and then subcategories, cell phone, gas and electric, mortgage, spectrum, water, and Windstream. And those are all just subcategories of utilities. So everything's broken down and easy to see. Makes this way easier than the way that I used to do it, where I would take all the shoebox of stuff, separate everything into the files, and then I would enter all that information into a spreadsheet manually, and it would take like a week or longer for me to do all that manually on the computer, versus now with QuickBooks, I just do it all year long. It doesn't take me long. I just get on once a week and I categorize things, and then when it comes time for taxes, all the work's already done. But if you're small and just starting out, using a spreadsheet, doing it yourself, is perfectly fine. That's how I did it for a long time before I did QuickBooks. Oh, and what I've also done is, as it's going in order down my main sheet here, everything's in order, so they can just have this there and they can flip through and everything will still be in order. I try to make this as easy for them as possible. The next one I've got is charitable contributions. I do give a little bit to some charities, and my accountant requests receipts from that or some sort of documentation. So I have printouts, like photocopies of all that stuff to give to them. Another one that's just like, I don't know, so I send that to them. This is just my health insurance payments. Now you might get a 1095A from your health insurance. I didn't get one this year because I still qualified for the free health insurance thing from COVID and blah, 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 blah. But this year, at the end of this year, I should get one of these. So if you've got one of these, they want to see that too. Then my vehicle insurance, because I've got State Farm and I've got multiple trailers. I have a truck, I have a motorcycle, I have a personal umbrella policy, I have a personal car. So there's personal and business expenses through my State Farm. So I break that all down on a spreadsheet separately, which now that I'm saying that, I should print that out because I made the spreadsheet. Here we go, print, perfect. So I'm gonna print that out and I will staple that to this so that they can see it if they wanna see that. I don't know if they will, but it's at least attached so they can see it if they want. Let me grab that. Next one's taxes and licenses. Again, these are just the tabs from QuickBooks Online. So I print it out, and then I've got all my quarterly estimated payments that I've made. So I highlight the amount there for each of those, and I kind of write it in down here so they can see total state, total federal, total sales tax, and then, you know, they can see everything. There's a little description next to each one. And if you're not making estimated payments, then you're gonna owe all of your tax at the end of the year. So when you do your taxes, not only will you pay that, but they'll figure out for next year based on your previous year what you're gonna owe. You know, you kind of guess what your business is gonna do the next year, and you make estimated payments 4 times a year, at least for me. Some businesses maybe make more, but I do 4 payments a year, and then I'm not like giving a lump sum up at the end of the year. So my next one is my mortgage. So I've got a printout of all my mortgage payments throughout the year. I actually I'm on like, I think it's called the interest saver program or something like that. So rather than paying once a month, I pay every other week. So that ends up cutting a few years off of the loan, and I don't know, they call it the interest saver program. It's right through my bank. They asked me if I wanted to do it, and I was like, yeah, sure. So they send me a mortgage interest statement that shows how much interest how much interest I paid, and it shows the escrow that they paid out and things like that. Then I've got a spreadsheet that I made that combines my taxes that were paid, which is also escrowed by the mortgage, which means I pay my mortgage company and they pay my taxes, they pay my mortgage, the interest, and my homeowner's insurance. All comes out of my mortgage. And because I have a home office, which is where I'm sitting right now, a percentage of my mortgage and all of that is a business expense, as well as, you know, the power, the internet, like any utility for the house. And that's based on the square footage of my office versus the square footage of the house. So it's just a percentage. Next one is sale of a fixed asset. I sold my personal car as well as a dump trailer this year. So I've got the bills of sale for each of those. So if they want to see that, because the personal car I did use for business use a little bit, so I probably will have to pay a little bit, like that'll be considered income. Same thing with the dump trailer. That was a business, you know, the business dump trailer. So that is considered as income. Next is equipment purchases over $500. I did buy 2, I sold the 1 dump trailer and I bought 2 dump trailers this year. So that's that. Following that, I got a 1099. So this is just 1099s. Yeah, there's 1, 2, 3, 4 1099s. And that is everything. All right, so hopefully that was helpful to you. If it was, make sure you go down below, give the video a thumbs up, and thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next video.